Now, to discuss media and marketing in the cannabis space, we have some of the premier pioneers and influential cannabis marketers out there. To lead this, the founder of Cannabis Now magazine, which is one of the best cannabis magazines on the planet. Let's hear it for Eugenio Garcia!
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce our panel for media and marketing in the cannabis space. First and foremost, Luna Stower, who is a cannabis advocate and international marketer. Lisa Haug, who is the founder of MJ Universe. Michael Knott, the journalist and author of Cannabis Extraction. And Katy Perry, the owner and operator of Toke Cannabis. Thank you all for coming. I believe that our panel today will bleed right into 420, so please stick with us, and we can all enjoy a toke afterwards. Thank you. We can share. Okay. Don't worry, Katie. Okay, so
grab that mic.
We're good. We'll share. One of the most important things in cannabis and marketing is passion and creativity. So I'd like to just start from left to right. Let's just go through the panel. Could you all please just share with the audience what are you most passionate about as professionals in the cannabis space, and what inspires you?
Well, for me, I think it was always educating people on the power of the cannabis plant, and more importantly than that, creating access. You know, in Canada, we're lucky we're federally legalized, and now it's recreational, but before that, providing access to patients was a huge reason for my advocacy and my involvement in the industry.
I must say my passion kind of changed over the years. I started to tell people how to stash, how to hide their weed on YouTube. And meanwhile, I focus on cannabis education and building up a cannabis culture in Germany, because legalization doesn't mean that we have a living cannabis culture. And that's my passion.
I think like what is the thing that drives me most in this is the impact that we can have through cannabis and through marketing and cannabis and through combining these two, because as marketers we can change how the story is told to a certain extent, and I think that's very important, and I love how impactful we can really change the world through this plant.
She's so good. Give it up for Lisa. If you don't know who this woman is, she is responsible for a lot of responsible marketing practices in Germany and is someone to follow, so follow her. Reparations. We're in the United States, which was built on Native Americans, was built on the backs of slaves. We were promising them 40 hectares or in a mule, and they never got it. There's a lot of harms that have been done by the racist war on drugs, and as a prison abolitionist and an educator and someone who fights for the rights of the working class, that is the most important thing, is the drug war. And really the actual really more important thing than people as an earth firster is nature. What hemp and cannabis can do for our world and how it can de-seat pharma and big plastics and alcohol is enough of a reason to keep me in it. I believe that those things are the most toxic thing to us. It's a food, it's clothing, it brings the good vibes, and this world needs it. So it is the healing of the nations.
Thank you for that, Luna, and everybody. I bring up passion and creativity as the first thing because I really believe it's one of the most important things for a successful marketing person and a marketing strategy in a business. But right behind it comes experience. You can have all of the mission in the world, you can have all the creativity in the world, but if you don't have the experience to pull it off, it's either going to be really, really expensive or it's never going to happen. So starting back with you, Luna, and coming back towards me, Can you give our audience a bit of the foundation of each individual's experience and where you're coming from on this panel today?
How many minutes should I take for this one?
Keep it short.
Keep it short. My experience, born and raised in the Bay Area, Oakland, California, in 1996, we passed medical use thanks to Dennis Perone and Brownie Mary due to the wasting syndrome that was killing 30,000 of our gay men in San Francisco. It was an epidemic. And we saw a little old lady getting arrested, and it activated an entire state of people to vote, yes, we want medical. I was 11 years old. In 6th grade, we were selling it and smoking it. And later in high school and college, I was growing it. So I've been in the Emerald Triangle and seen the terroir and the appellations of origin, see how the breeders and the growers really worked with the soil, the land, the cultivars that their third generation families have been growing, working with Colombianos. And shout out to, if anyone knows, Black Tuna, our homie CV from Black Tuna always says, Santa Marta, how the hippies in the 70s went from the Emerald Triangle between Santa Marta and Colombia, and we owe a lot to the equator. But that really has driven me. I have a master's in teaching, so I was teaching in public schools and jails and all kinds of beautiful spaces. And really for me, seeing the social justice elements, to Lisa's point, through brands. I built 2 of the largest brands in cannabis. Both of them have been public. They're on, they're public companies now. I was employee number 1, Jetty Extracts, which is one of the most well-known brands in California, which was the first to market about 10 years ago, 11 years ago in cartridges. And then iSpire, one of the largest vape manufacturers in the world. So really with just an activist background. I don't have an MBA, right? I'm a public school teacher. So I really like bridging that storytelling piece and rewriting the narrative, because prohibition was super racist and classist, and we got to move on.
True.
Yeah, also maybe to, if you look at where the war on drugs is rooted, it's still in the single conventions, all 3 of them. If you look at it closely, I keep on saying it's the biggest trade barrier that we have when it comes to cannabis. I still believe we need better categories as marketers in order to market the products appropriate to the category that they're in, whether they're medical product or cosmetics and all those kind of things. And in everyday operations, I think we still see a lot of limitations in this. So I personally would wish that we as an industry would do more lobby work on a global level and explain that there is a need to discuss these things between the regulators and the legal industry in order to really get this shift happening.
But make sure to tell them what your experience is from where you're speaking.
Yep, my experience from that, where I'm speaking, I'm also part of the board of the German Industry Association. We see a lot of these challenges. For example, there was a cosmetics company from Hamburg. They just had a cream cosmetic topical, and they got prosecuted for breaking the single convention, being a narcotic trafficker. So those kind of scenarios happen, and there are still many things that could be way easier if we properly regulate it. And at least in Germany, we don't have enough regulations in place in order to appropriately market the product. It's also for CBD or for CBD flowers and all those kind of things.
My experience, I work in the cannabis, in the business since 22 years. Started all with the grow shop, and then I started publishing about cannabis, and then I started to make videos about cannabis, educating people about cannabis, and after a while, I ended up consulting cannabis companies who wanted to invest in Germany, because I was very active also in the medical market, in the beginning of the medical market. And my experience is that any country who legalizes cannabis or decriminalizes cannabis, there's a very interesting time. This is when the guerrilla, the underground, meets the business world. And in Germany, we have this time right now. This time is, and every country has a different solution for it. If you look to California, if you look to Canada, if you look to Europe.
Do not look to them. But if, continue.
And I think no country did it perfectly yet. We have a different approach in Germany than some states in the USA. We have a different approach than Canada. And we try to over-regulate this time where we have a gray market. In every country which decides to legalize cannabis, there will be a gray market over a certain area. You can see that in any country that legalized cannabis. And some countries didn't even try to prevent it, didn't even react on it. And in Germany, we try to over-regulate the gray market at the moment. Or we tried with our cannabis law, we try to over-regulate or prevent a gray market, which is not possible when you can own cannabis, but you cannot buy it. That's our situation in Germany. We can own cannabis, but if we are not club members and fulfill certain things, we cannot buy the cannabis. So it falls from the sky, and then you own it, and then it's legal. And same in Netherlands, you know. And this is a very interesting time, and I'm really keen how this ends up in Germany, because we will come to a solution. Canada has a lot of experience now. They have it federal legal. We have it legal on federal basis as well. So we'll have a very interesting solution, different from the US. But I don't know if we will choose the best solution. I'm not sure yet. So we are living in very, very, very interesting times in my eyes.
Well, good thing we have Canada on the panel.
I'm from Canada, and my experience in the cannabis industry began when I broke my back when I was a teenager. And for me, the only thing that ever gave me any relief was using cannabis. So I started growing weed medically for Health Canada for patients. I was a designated grower. From that point, I really saw what an impact that had as like a steady stream of a clean supply. And I opened up a medical dispensary, which was very much gray market at the time. I was arrested several times for providing this access to medical patients, prohibited from selling cannabis in Canada. I opened up a hydroponic store because then I wanted to teach people how to grow their own so they could have their own supply. From that point, I then pivoted into the legal market, which is now recreational in Canada, and I now have 8 storefronts across Ontario. Where I supply it as recreational just to regular consumers. And I'm also involved in another company called the Bud Tender Surprise and Delight Series, which helps educate bud tenders across the country. And so it's more of like a grassroots marketing that we're doing there. So for me, my marketing angle really comes from providing that consumer with the brands that they're looking for and the products that they need.
Get it.
Thank you, Katie. And again, I'm Eugenio, and
Badass.
as the publisher of Cannabis Now magazine, I've been able to witness this industry for over 15 years and have a unique perspective of seeing thousands of different companies go to $1 billion and many, if most, go to bust. And so when I look around this room today, I see hopefully a lot of billion in the future. And I really want you guys to win. And I think that the experienced panel that we have today has seen a lot of the success also in the past. And this is one of the most diverse panels that I've seen. We have representations from all over the world. So my next question is regarding international marketing. We can start with you, Michael. Do you think that international marketing changes from country to country, or is there a foundation that is a North Star that everyone can lean into that translates language and or background or other aspects that come into play there?
When it comes to international marketing, it's very, very difficult in my eyes, because on the one hand side, you can not neglect the social media, the big players, YouTube, Instagram. They have very different regulations on that, which do not depend on the domestic law. So we have 2 players. For example, in Germany, I always have to consider what does Instagram allow, what does YouTube allow, and on the other side, I have to look what does the law allow. And then it comes to medical cannabis. And everybody who invests in Germany, I can recommend, found a brand and promote your strains, your products via the brand. Because in Germany, cannabis marketing is illegal as long as it's recreational marketing. And for medical marketing, you are not allowed to promote, to focus on the medicine itself, but you're allowed to focus on the brand producing the medicine. So if you want to do like a strain review, I'm always asked, can't you do a strain review for my company on your channel, on your Instagram or the YouTube channel? And I say, sorry, this is not allowed. I risk a big fine as a YouTuber because I break a German law when I promote a strain as a strain, even if YouTube or Instagram would not block it, which is not safe. But still, I would break the law. So I always say, found a brand and promote your medicine or your strain or anything via the brand, because you're safer. Because you can make advertisement under the medical law. And when it comes to recreational law, advertisement is forbidden. We have even clubs who are not allowed to run a website in Bavaria.
And I mean, like in Germany, especially in the medical field, everything gotten a little wild also. Like there is a lot of advertisement happening that is not in compliance with medicinal advertisement laws. And like I think like maybe what brands can maybe focus on more is that they really start to establish their brand here. And many Canadian companies or also US companies, they overestimate how they are perceived here. There's no brand perception, and they think they come here, they have their brand from Canada, and everything works fine. It's like, no, you have to start from scratch. You also have to consider certain regulatory environments and certain cultural differences. You always need to adapt your strategy to a certain extent, and you have to build it up again, because like we're still in Europe, we don't, like, it's a little bit look over the big sea, but still a lot of is locally, and it's also like local brands, like for example Der Micha, or like traditional like bong shops and stuff like this. Like there are some European brands as well, they have recognition, but you still need to work as a marketer on adapting your brand strategy to the European markets.
With a little perspective just for us as a panel, if you are involved in a business or own a business that is B2B, business to business, please raise your hand. Okay, so it looks like the room is actually kind of split between B2B and B2C. So one question that I was hoping we could discuss, and Luna, if you could kick us off, what is the biggest difference between marketing to B2B audience as opposed to B2C, and where can you find real error in trying to do both?
Well, first of all, we don't do enough educating consumers. So B2B, I would say, is really heavy on the trust building, the story, the team, and on the B2C side, it's definitely the authenticity piece. I've noticed a lot of big brands, I'm not gonna name them, but I travel around the world. Anywhere that there's a legal or a quasi-legal market in the world, I've probably been to. For example, Thailand. Asia is known as like the rip-off capital of the world, no disrespect. It's like, you know, gotta love it, gotta hate it. And you see brands that are from my home state of California out there, and you don't know if they have a license deal. Some of these are out of business in the United States and they're popping up. Some of them are being sued and they're popping up, and there's a lot of this counterfeit clout chasing, people calling things Cali without even knowing what it is. No offense to Berliners, but like even on the menus here, it's just the lack of proper nomenclature, understanding what indica, sativa, all of these things. You guys are like, you know, Europe is like 20 years behind the United States. So or from, you know, the United States and, you know, North America, you could call it. So I think a big thing with consumers is the education around asking, what is in this vape? Why does this, how can I tell the difference between sprayed on botanical terpenes and naturally derived cannabis terpenes? Like just basic things that can help, as you know, when we're talking to consumers, giving them the empowerment to know that if they spend 30 cents more, they might not get a lung disease, or they might not have put their grandmother who is, you know, immunocompromised at risk. And on the B2B side, it's like, pay your bills, bro. Like, write a contract and follow it. Get a lawyer, read through contracts, and get a prenup, because it's all, you want to plan things when it's in peace times, not when it's hitting the fan. Get things in writing. It's the most respectful, sexy, loving thing you can do is be extremely clear. Clear is kind. So in B2B, it's not, your team has to be solid. You can't just keep selling a dream and then have your actual closet be dirty. Like you have to be transparent. They have to be able to come see your facility. You have to be above board, because once you start getting snaky people doing cutting corner things, it becomes like a pathological liar. They don't know where the lie ends and the truth begins, and you get yourself in trouble. So if you're gonna be above board, go fully above board. And if people are still in the trap, or they aren't sure how to get out of the trap, as we call it, the underground market, just for right now, everyone's just playing it real safe, because one bad link in your chain, whether it's a supply chain or an employee or whatever, can completely bottom you out.
Any other thoughts? No?
I think one thing that we need to discuss for the either, it depends for both, it's for B2B as well as for B2C, that the regulatory framework is not right. There are also not enough rules for B2B things, like, for example, commercial hemp trading or processing in Germany, for example. There could be some points in the process where your product goes as a hemp manufacturer beyond the 0.2, you would be a drug trafficker, so the rules are not there to properly market it. And it's also something that needs to happen more, is that we push the regulators to be proactive rather than, for example, suing them. Today, for example, Kai Friedrich Niermann, who is not here today, he's in front of the court, and he has 2 ordinances where he's suing the German government that will be ruled hopefully today. And if those go through, we have clear regulations for hemp as a tea product and as a smokable product. And then we have final good regulations.
We have time for one more panel question, and then I want to ask the audience if you have 1 or 2 questions for us. And I think this is one of the most important questions that I get asked in this last year. What's the ROI? Yeah. At the end of the day, everyone wants to make money. There's very few nonprofits in this room, I'm sure. There might be 1 or 2. So, Katie, we'll start with you, but because you run a shop, how do you balance ROI, actually making money? Spend $1, you need to get that $1 back in the door, with brand awareness, and how can they be both important?
Well, I think from my perspective, it's a little bit different, because I do a lot of B2C, right? So I'm educating the consumer, and to do that, I have to educate my bud tenders. And I'm very lucky in that I work very closely with a lot of the brands that we sell in the store, and I have expressed to them that we need their help educating the bud tenders, because without their help and their assistance, I can't educate my people. And so they've been really generous in terms of, their PKs, which is like their product knowledge sessions, and just, coming in and chatting with our team. And so, for us, there's a lot of synergy there. Like, we're definitely not left out in the cold. I'm not expected to, market the business side of it to the consumer side. Like, there's a lot of assistance and help there. So we're very lucky in Canada in that regard.
That's okay. That's a great question. And I think with ROI, my perspective on it is, depending on, specifically if you're B2B or B2C, you need to have a balance. And in your organization, you need to find out what your missions are, and not just say, oh, we're only going to spend $1 if we get $1 back. You also need to invest in a little bit of the big picture, brand awareness. So when people get that unique message directly to you, they've already in their history have seen you somewhere else, and they can connect the dots. And it's really just up to your own cycle and the own positioning of your company to decide how much to spend at what time. Does any panel members have any questions, or any audience members have any questions for us panel before we run out of time?
Well, I just want to say one quick thing about ROI. You really have to let some things just be unquantifiable and magical to some degree, and some of that's going to be marketing and messaging. Some things cannot. I've planted seeds 10 years ago that are just coming into fruition now. So you are not, if you have shareholders or stakeholders or funders breathing behind your back, or someone who's really a COO who doesn't understand, or some nerdy accountant, some things you say back off, you don't understand. Like, you have to defend some of this stuff. It doesn't make sense to lobby and get people out of jail for the business, but there has to be a triple bottom line. If you look into the background of B corporations, you can align people, profit, and the planet. There are ways for everyone to win. So if you need to defend it hard, because the math people and the numbers people will never understand the ether and the love that is this business.
And it's mostly the activists who open up the market, to be honest, like without the people, and I'm advocating that in Germany a lot, also to support the hemp museum and to support your local activists and the GMMs or the hemp parade, and that those things are super important because those are the people who are doing the work for us as an industry to open up the market for years. And without them, we wouldn't be where we are here. And like also the patient advocacy, it should be compulsory for any medicinal company to support the patients to a certain extent, as long, like, but we have the regulatory framework who also limits that.
What the business word for is create credibility, which is very important in the cannabis scene. Yeah. Also for people who don't, who are not convinced. Yeah. Create credibility for your brand by doing good things. And doing good things is not giving money to animal protection. Of course, it's a good thing to give money to animal protection. Sorry, but still, in the cannabis scene, you're considered to be a hero if you support the heroes of the cannabis scene. So this is credibility, and this is also economically very reasonable in my eyes.
Yeah, and it's also important that we just don't see it like a cut. That we also take a lot of the people that are still in the illicit value chains with us and give them a possibility to act in a legal environment, because they are not bad people or organized criminals or whatsoever, but still in that area, like it would be better to help and make a shift and retract certain people like grower and all these kind of people with experience to the illicit market.
Thank you. That's so true. And Gaio, do we have time for one question from the audience? Oh, bro, there's no clock.
I actually have a question.
There's no clock.
I knew you were going to ask a question in Gaio. I knew it. You couldn't help yourself.
First of all, let's hear it for the panel.
Yes.
Here's my question. First of all, how dare you? No, I'm kidding. It's so difficult to be a cannabis person on Instagram, right? To be a cannabis person on YouTube. Where can someone find the rules? They seem awfully arbitrary and capricious.
ChatGPT. Pay the
God
$20
damn
a
it.
month. If you ask what are the current Meta and LinkedIn things, what's the deal with carousels, hashtags, and you can manually check and write it out. If you have to write out someone's tag all the way, if you have to write out Luna_STOWE, and when you say E, see the E, my face pops up, do not tag that person. It is like the clap. You don't want to get it. You stay away. I'm just saying, it really is Meta. Meta uses algorithms. If you are tagging other people who are shadow banned, they assume that you have shadow ban behavior. You literally get a virus when you touch other people and tag other people. So
That's
what I
so
do,
fucked up.
yeah, what I do is I just do the @ symbol and then a space and then write out their name so they still get the shout out. People can manually write it in, but I'm not taking my viewership of my account down just because I want to shout out a homie.
Build up a dummy account for a cannabis company. So try the content on the dummy account. If it's deleted, never publish it on your sober account. If you have a sober company account, ever keep it sober. So but you never know how far you can go. For example, on Instagram, I do it since over a decade, and you do not know how far you can go because rules changes, and those are people who are sitting there. It's not only the algorithm, the AI. Sometimes it's also people sitting there. So it's and you don't reach them. You cannot contact them. So in my eyes, my recommendation is use a dummy account, and if the content is not blocked on the dummy account, wait a day and put it on your own account. But never endanger your basic account.
If I don't want to use ChatGPT, can I just give you $20?
You can hit me up. I'll do it
For
for
a
free.
bong
If you
hit,
want to know
I
what's
got
going
some
on, I'll
dabs
help
or
you
whatever.
out.
Fantastic. I'm sure someone has it. Yeah, all right. There we go. I'm coming.
When we look at the mass consumers in North America, so legal cannabis products, mass consumers, what are the most important factors that go into their purchasing decision? Is it the brand, or is it something else? Could it be
First, are you
strains,
EU
the closest
GMP certified? Let's back it up. Like most brands are not even ready to get into some of these markets just based on how it's. So I would back it up. It's not even like. Are you from North America?
I am, but I don't know anything about the North American legal market.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys can speak.
So it's a little bit different in Canada because if the brands are at market, like they're all certified and they've gone through the regulations. And you know, when we first started back in 2018, there wasn't a lot of brand recognition at all, and the bud tenders they really held most of the power in terms of recommendations to these customers because of the regulations that we have for marketing. You really don't have a lot to sell the consumer with, right? Like they don't really see the packaging, they don't understand the brand, and so you sell by the name and the THC content, which can be, you know, shackling at times. Like it's very difficult to do that. As we've matured a little bit as an industry, you do start to see that brand awareness. So, you know, whether it's my friend's brand Atlantic, you know, people come in, they know it's a great brand, they say, what's fresh, you know, with some of these brands, and, you know, they'll start just buying those things. So the brand awareness has started to emerge and come forward, but it has been a journey for sure. It didn't start like that.
And I think that education on the quality of your product is the foundation. There's so many challenges in marketing cannabis. What's really going to hold that consumer to come back again and again and again, you do not want one-off purchases and never see them again. You want them to be lifelong friends and customers. So you need to have the best quality product in your category, and you need to scream it from the mountaintop.
But not too loud because Instagram will shut you down.
Just don't scream it on Instagram.
Right. Just scream it to random people in the street. I have great weed.
Stop using the word cannabis and hashtagging cannabis, y'all. Like, stop using it and smoking it.
Listen, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Talk about weed without calling it weed.
I have spent more than half of my life being an activist. I say weed. I say cannabis. I'm not here trying to trick fucking people. I'm not, oh, it's gardening. Oh, it's broccoli. Oh, it's OUI''D. That's bullshit. Right? That is the problem. I work too hard spreading the word of weed to have to lie to a computer.
You know, but you know what the problem for an influencer is? I'd like to publish my content, you know, educational content on other platforms. But who of you all goes to other platforms on YouTube and Instagram?
This is one for
Germany. That's the problem. So if I publish my content somewhere else,
hey, we're trying Blue Sky. We're trying. Blue Sky's catching a little wave.
Blue Sky's cool.
Blue Sky's catching a wave.
It's true.
I can get behind Blue Sky.
I will say Blue Sky is cool. You can find me on Blue Sky. Ungayo420 on all social media platforms.
But again,
what were you going to say, Lisa?
The problem is the rules need to be changed. The rules of these platforms, we need to approach them. Like this is one of the action items on my annual list for the industry association, that we are approaching them exactly because of that, because we can't do educational content. There are no clear rules. On the other hand, I get display ads for bricks of cocaine on Facebook.
Yeah? How
about the guns? How about the guns?
It's ridiculous. So, and then on the other hand, you get shadow banned because you're a CBD bath bomb. So, hypocrisy 101.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is why we need to work on the rules. This is why we need to do lobby work. And this is why it's so important to be there as a representation of the industry.
Hear, hear.
I'll just piggyback on that, and I'll say, in order to change the rules, you kind of have to break the rules a little bit. And not that I've ever done that, but you know, by doing those hashtags and destigmatizing cannabis and weed and ganja and whatever you want to call it, you sort of have to shout it out from the mountains. And sometimes that does come with a shadow ban, and that does come with a little bit of pushback. But if we're not yelling it from the rooftops, it's never going to change.
Also, one thing, and I don't think he's here yet, but if you know Simón Pablo Espinosa from Envolá from Chile, I was on an ICBC panel with him a few years ago in Berlin, and something he said really stuck with me, and it's true. He's a comedy writer. He uses edutainment. It's educational entertainment or entertaining education. And if you are being looked at, whether it's by a hater manually or through the bot system, if you are clearly trying to explain and define things and give context without any idolization, romanticization, or promotion, you can do it right. There's certain things that you can ask yourself when you're about to push out content. Does it make medical claims? Is it using sex to sell? Is it using bright colors? Like in California, you can't have bubble bubble letters or cartoon characters or anything that will attract children. You can't have clear packaging. To Katie's point about, the Canada just having super boring packaging. They try to make the sexiest thing in the world not sexy. So that's what I would say is if it's edutainment and it's clear that you are doing it to make people make more empowered decisions, you're way less likely to get some of these issues.
Editorial content is also is a difference between advertisement and editorial content.
So
Right.
my point of view, or if I was imagining that I was speaking from the cannabis plant point of view, we should all think about the possibility of categorizing cannabis and hemp as a food supplement.
Sorry, what's the question?
Food supplement categorization.
I'm raising the question that if I took the position that I was speaking on behalf of our wonderful cannabis plant, that from that perspective, I am raising the question to all of us that we should consider that all of this plant is to be considered a food supplement.
Too bad it's a
Lisa's the
narcotic.
expert.
It's a narcotic
Don't
supplement.
tell
Well,
it.
if I
Try
think
telling that
if
to
the
Instagram.
cannabis plant would answer that, it would say, "Hey, I'm way more than food. I can house you. I can warm. But it's way more than food. This is why we should not restrict it. And even if you look at these food categories, we have the rules and regulations in the EU, for example. We have the novel food regulations. Those are interpreted very differently from country to country. Some have their own regulations in France, for example. But we need better marketing regulations. But this is where we need to collaborate more with the regulators. And at the moment, it's just the situation that if they don't want to do it, we go to court, we sue them, they have to change it. Like the same as happening in Germany for the medicinal cannabis laws with the person who was allowed to cultivate. And those things is moving the progress, but in the end it should be a little bit different, and we should try to make the governments react more proactive. They start to be more open, they start to listen more. They still neglect certain aspects. They don't want to know about illicit things. Some countries just want to know about producing medicinal cannabis, but not giving it to their population, which is a shame in my opinion, and those kind of things need to happen way more, that we create global cannabis reform.
Thank you so much. We are out of time. Let's hear it again. Luna, Eugenio, Michael, Katie, Lisa. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. We'll see y'all at the party tonight. All right, one panel left. Who's ready? Go take a picture. Who's ready for the last panel? Let me know. I said let me know. This is the International Cannabis Business Conference 2025, Barcelona, Catalunya, España. Please be careful, Jamie.